This week we're going to learn all about normal distributions, and you may have heard about these before. You may have never heard this concept, but basically a distribution is the shape of a data set. If you would plot it on a chart, histogram, it's the shape that histogram would take. And a lot of data sets tend to follow what's called a normal distribution. It's this bell-shaped curve. There's infinitely many normal distributions, um, but then we can convert them all to a single distribution, which is called the standard normal distribution. So that's something we're going to get into. My guess is that you'll find the textbook readings and videos a bit dry and theoretical, so don't spend too much time there. What you really should spend time then, of course, your focus task, but the Explore section has a couple videos that I do think are very helpful. And then in the quiz, I'll push you to review some of the concepts you've learned and then extend for I'll give you a couple different tools for how you actually use or interpret a normally distributed data set. So my general rule of thumb is I don't put in really difficult or theoretical content into a statistics course unless there's a good reason why. And with normal distributions, there's a good reason why. So if you do wrestle with the concepts, take heart in knowing these are powerful tools to use. Just to give you a couple examples. So in my own life, I've used them or use them regularly, really, in both professional and personal ways. So professionally, one of the ways is I author this report called Why Rural Matters, and we look at a lot of different things that can be measured in education and health, especially in rural areas. And one of those is poverty. So when we look at poverty rates, or especially socioeconomic status, so it's the poverty, but also the occupational prestige, which is kind of a funny thing to measure, but of people's jobs or their education levels, and then combine them, we can put these on a normal distribution. And then we can look at what things predict poverty and also what influence poverty has on the education of students. And it does have a pretty powerful relationship with many educational outcomes. And then personally, I've used it as well many times in our families. Medical decisions or even understanding what a situation is happening. To give you an example, my oldest daughter, Ellie, was born several weeks prematurely, and in her first few years especially, but even now, we kept an eye on her growth rate, both her weight and her height. And so when the doctor would give us, my wife and I, information about where she fit in relative to other females her age, it was really helpful to be able to put that in the perspective of normal distributions, because these things are distributed according to a normal distribution. So lots of places where it shows up, where z-scores, which are standard normal distribution data points, or just any normal distribution, show up in our lives. I think it's one of those things that perhaps you may not have been aware of it up until this point, but after you learn about them and you go about your daily life or reading news articles, you may see them show up more than you expected.